Trigger warning. This episode may contain content that could be distressing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to New Earth Studios. Love Now by Alex Roseman. We are here in the heart of the wilderness of Dubai. From our beautiful New Earth Cafe, the Conscious Eatery, where we'll be bringing you conscious conversations with our very next guest. Please do your best to click the subscription button so you can see us evolve and grow and ultimately show up in a community near you. Thank you. And you're like, what's going on? There's a conversation. I don't know what's happening. This is intriguing. What kind of movie is this going to be?
Dude, what are you on? Like, what? Is
Stardust.
it Power Plan?
Stardust. We actually have a latte called the Cosmic Latte. So, I like to devour that one when I can. And matcha power as well.
Again with the matcha, man. I can't get on the matcha boat.
No?
I can't do it. Tastes like fish, bro.
Not. Hold the fort. Hold on a sec. Let's you.
Take a deep breath. I know the matcha.
It's like a fish paste, is it? Is that what you kind of feel like? You know what? Try our matcha.
It's very seaweedy.
Yeah. Well, try our matcha and see what you think.
I'll do it after the podcast. I don't want to lose my cool.
Okay, yes, fair enough. Well, that'd be quite interesting TV, to be fair. Amna, welcome to the
Amoon.
New Earth Studios.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure. How did you hear about us? I think it's through a mutual acquaintance, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. You had a friend of mine, Adil. He's a masculinity coach and stuff.
Yes, cool guy.
I had him on the podcast, and he told me about you, and he said, Alex is a pretty cool guy, and I was like, okay, I'll check him out. I'll grace him with my presence.
Thank you. I could feel that. There's some sort of graceness happening over me, and I was like, I needed that today as well.
Graceness.
I'm just throwing new words. It's an Alex dictionary.
I love it.
This is New Earth water, by the way. It helps clear up the demons.
Cosmic water? Ooh, we're gonna be here for a while. But I need like 3 more of these pieces.
So this New Earth water it has this machine called a Kangen machine. So it restructures water. We have the filter as well, but it restructures water, so it brings it back to life. Because all water is sitting dead. I mean, from Evian and all these Alps, it's beautiful, but after a week, month, year in a bottle, it's lost its essence. So it's about restructuring it to bring it back to life.
Is this like the reverse osmosis something?
Kind of.
Yeah?
But it goes through these plates. It's actually a Japanese medically certified device. So it's recognized. They use it in hospitals and things like this. So we have it here, as well as 5D crystals we put in there too. So you might get some vivid dreams tonight.
I always do. Please stop with those. Oh my God.
Well, now they're going to be heightened. You may wake up and think you're still in the dream.
Oh, Lord.
So,
the lucid stuff. Okay.
Bottoms up.
Cheers. This is going to be fun.
So I looked at your answers to the questions. I really appreciate that.
Yep.
And I'd like to delve into a little bit, what is it the work you do?
Yeah.
So I can sit here and get a free session, basically.
Who's getting the free session?
I think we're going to find out. I think it's going to be a fair exchange. We're the kind of people I think we like to give and not,
100%.
So
it's all about giving.
So what got you into it, and what is it you actually do for everybody who's listening out there?
Okay, so I am a certified coach, a certified yoga teacher, and a nutritional therapist. Why I got into all of those 3 was because I started with yoga teaching.
Yeah.
That was not my career. We're going to talk about that later on. That wasn't the plan at all, but I've been practicing yoga since I was 16. It helped me with my autoimmune disease, and my mother has the same autoimmune disease, so when I had gotten married and came back to Dubai, I was working in Abu Dhabi. I was like, okay, I have no job, and I'm doing yoga, and it's helping me with my stuff, And my mom was dealing with quite a lot at that time, and I was like, why don't you do yoga, And she's like, no, they're gonna take my money, and I'm not gonna keep up with the class, and all of these excuses, right? So I was like, you know what? I'll become a yoga teacher, so that I can help you. I became a yoga teacher, and she canceled on me 7 times. So That's the moment I realized that you cannot affect anyone's journey but yours. You have no control over anyone's journey. So it was not a career thing. Like I was just looking to enrich myself because at that time the job market in Dubai wasn't doing so well. I finished culinary school at the
Okay.
same time.
You were doing culinary school, like you're becoming
Yeah.
a chef?
Yeah, well, look, at that time I was like, okay, I can't find a job
Yeah.
in Dubai, and what do I love? And I wanted to kind of invest in the things that I love doing. And one of the things that I love most in this entire world is food and everything that has to do with food, whether it's cooking it or eating it or bathing in it. No, I'm not
Well,
joking.
Cleopatra style, yeah. Each to their own. I mean, there's almond milk instead of goat's milk these days. But I did the same thing. I went to catering and hospitality school. I became a chef for a few
Okay.
years when I was like 19
Cool.
in London, and kind of do the waitering and the bar and all that sort of stuff. So I relate that I didn't know what to do, but I did. I remember in my childhood I did enjoy eating food.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, at least if I can cook that,
Right?
I can carry on living my life eating the food I want to eat.
Thank you.
It
you.
made
You
logical
did it.
sense.
Absolutely.
But you know what? You need a bigger why sometimes than that
100%.
to be a chef. And after a couple of years of, it's like 16-hour days, it's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
I realized that wasn't a big enough why for me to stay in the business.
Yeah.
But what about you?
Look, the why for me didn't start coming until like a couple of years ago. Let me kind of rewind. This was definitely not a career path that I wanted for myself. So before I got married, I was being groomed to be an ambassador. So everything I did, like I studied international economics. I was one of the first Expo ambassadors. I was one of the first students to be sent by Ministry of Foreign Affairs to do an internship abroad in Portugal in the embassy there. So that was kind of my path. And my first job, I was living and working in Abu Dhabi. I'm from Dubai, but the capital, and that's kind of where ambassadors are made and diplomats and stuff. So most of my early career was in government and politics. That was an interesting time.
Wow.
And then I learned quite a lot about myself later, actually, and why I wanted this career path. And I was too young to understand why I wanted it. But, there was some pressure, and there was some wanting to be someone. There was some ego involved, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still have that. Sometimes, when I see like these, like some of my friends are ambassadors now and stuff, I'm not going to say I'm free of that. I see that and I'm like, what if, But no regrets, because I got married to my husband and he's a wonderful man. That's why I came back to Dubai. One of the best decisions I've made, because he's been a huge part of my healing journey. He's played a huge role in grounding me, I would say. So that was the first step. It was very difficult to change careers because, when you think you're on this path and then the rug gets pulled from under you and you're like, okay, I don't know what this is. I don't know who I am. I'm suddenly someone's wife. And I have no job, and I'm like this, hardcore career woman. Like I had this label right on my head, and I'm never gonna succumb to that, And then I came to Dubai, and I'm like, I need to be doing something. So I finished culinary school, and then I became a yoga teacher. Like,
it makes sense. This is a new type of yoga form, like yoga with a spatula or something.
And the amount of naysayers. Like for me, one word I would describe myself is I'm hungry. And I'm hungry for everything. I'm hungry to learn. I'm hungry for food. I'm hungry for experience. Like I have this just general hunger, And it's not a hunger that's coming from greed. This is not about like, I want more qualifications. It's just like life, a hunger for life.
You want to grow.
Yeah.
I can see that. You're just somebody who, you're not going to stop growing because you got married, let's say, and that's it. So, there's a part of you that wants to grow. Well, if you're not growing, you're dying, as Tony Robbins,
100%.
Famously says. So there's a part of you that wants to grow. Do you feel that now that you've settled, would you say, on coaching for now?
settled on being a source of healing.
Okay, settled
However
on being a
that
source
is.
of healing. So that's manifested
Well,
itself as a
yes.
coach
Yeah.
for now. How long have you
Yeah.
been coaching for?
I've been teaching yoga for 8 years. I've been coaching for 3. Nutritional therapy around 1 year.
Okay.
So how that came about was like, I felt like yoga wasn't enough. I did the whole thing. I went to India, I went to Morocco, I stayed in an ashram. I did the whole like
Yeah.
thing, right? But it came to me like I want to be able to speak to my client body, mind, and soul, you know? So it's like the coaching thing happened. And then when I did the coaching thing, the certification, I always tell this to people, coaching broke me and built me and broke me and built me and broke me and built me and broke me and built me. And it's still breaking me. And
Cheers
building me.
to that.
You get it, right?
Yeah,
you
no,
get it, Alex.
'cause-
Oh my God. Like, it's like everything you believe, every image, every label, everything that you've put for yourself, all of that kind of fades. And then this onion peels and you start to realize, like, why did I want to become an ambassador? You know, was it really because I wanted to become an ambassador, or was it because I wanted people to say that I'm an ambassador? Or was it because I wanted to please my family? Or was it, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this thing, starting to hold the mirror to yourself, that was very difficult,
But necessary.
but necessary in order for me to come into my purpose.
So there you go. When you look at your, friends who are the ambassadors, there's a certain sense of significance, they must carry. And how was that? Nice?
Good stuff. Okay.
That would be the power plant. That will take you all the way. I'm not sure where that is yet, but we'll figure it out.
Now I'm scared.
I'm having my fishy matcha, apparently.
That really hurt you, huh?
No, if that hurt me,
Really
then
take that
I think all the work I've done on myself, I'll be like, guys, don't listen to a word I have to say. Okay, if that hurt me, I am. Who am I? Why am I? How did I even get here? So now that I am here in Dubai, and I've got to say, it's a really cool place. It's expansive. There's so many cool things happening. What is it like to actually be here and grow up here? And
Yeah. What is it like to be an Emirati?
yes, what is that like?
What is it like to be an Emirati that's not a very good example of an Emirati?
That's exactly. What is it? Okay, tell me what is a good
like to want
example
to
and
fit
what is a
in?
bad
No,
example.
No, look, listen. For me, I'll tell you, being an Emirati is I would say a badge that
I'm just
I
going to turn the aircon
go
on.
for. Yeah, yeah,
feeling
please,
hot?
bro.
I am feeling hot. Let's go. Let's not
No.
forget us over here, yeah? Aircon action in. How do I? They've done so well here that I can't actually get into the machine.
What's going
my
on?
goodness. What's happening? We have
You're
cool
like
air coming
you're like
through.
a trip on your own, dude. Like, I swear. I'm glad I met you, Alex.
I'm not sure how to take that one. People describe me as cosmic, but I'm not even sure what that means.
Are we allowed to go there or no?
I think we're allowed to go anywhere until they shut us down.
Let's do this, Alex. I believe in us. Okay.
Somebody's got to. So, yeah.
So being an Emirati,
Yeah.
honestly, look, this is something that I've carried with me for a very long time. In the beginning, it was more about, like, I don't really look like an Emirati and then I can't fit in. And then it was more like that. But now it's like me holding that as a badge. Like when I travel, I take it very seriously for people to understand what an Emirati is and how to carry myself with grace and how to articulate what I'm saying, because that's a huge part of me and I'm very, very proud of it. And I'll tell you one thing, there's no country in the world that has done for its people what the UAE has done for us.
I have to say, there is something here for sure that, they really look at people, like they understand that it's the people that make this place. Now, people can say there's a disparity between, the ones that are workers who are coming in and the very wealthy over here. And there's quite a big disparity. But I feel like, there are certain laws are changing to protect the workers, and they are conscious enough that they are sort of becoming aware of this. Is that just me just randomly saying this, or do you feel there is this actually...
Look, I'm not going to say we're perfect. I'm being very honest, right? But we're a country who built ourselves over no genocide, over no war, over none of that. And a lot of countries have that in their history. So, no, we're not perfect, but we are working on it. And whatever issues that are coming up in terms of the workers and stuff, I'm not saying that we're staying quiet over it, but I think one of the nice things about the UAE is that we do our jobs quietly. I don't think it's like nowadays it's all about screaming about what you do.
Right.
You know, and I've noticed here about the UAE is that we do things diplomatically, we do things while still keeping our ties with everyone, while still keeping the peace with everyone, and it shows in our people, right? It shows in how you and me are from completely, two different parts of the world, but for some reason there is a vibe between us, and this is what Dubai does. This is normal in Dubai, and this is what I've grown up with. I've grown like I have like 5 local friends. And then the rest is from all over the world. Like I've had really, and this is also a part of my heartbreak, by the way, because you guys keep leaving. so,
I didn't want to tell you, but in about an hour and a
really
half,
good
I might have to leave this podcast. I hope you're okay with that.
Bro, like I have abandonment issues. Like I have this really good friend of mine. She's from Trinidad.
Yeah.
Still in touch with her, but she left over like 10 years ago, right? We got so close. And then she had to leave. And then this is like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? And then another chick from New Zealand, and then another chick from Switzerland, and then it's like, please stop leaving.
What is it me?
Am I
Have you not got the hint yet? Is this why you become a coach? I don't want people to leave anymore. If I help them, then they don't need to go.
right?
I get you now. See, I see patterns.
The plan. Look at you.
We joke, however, deep down, she realised. So,
deep.
that's, whew. It's deep as a fish tasting
Yeah.
matcha.
That really cut you. Do it.
Oh, it scaled me.
Let me drink my power plant.
I know, it's time for you to drink your power plant, Okay, that's cool. And
Yeah.
so look, this is a kind of place that some people do use it as a stopping place for a little
Yeah.
while before they go home
Yes.
to where they, I guess where they
Yeah.
feel like they originated from.
Yeah.
But I have to say, coming here, there is this future vision that's happening. Is it manifesting itself? Where
Yeah.
I've seen other places in the world, especially in Europe, that are regressing.
Mm-hmm.
There's this sense of competition and
Yeah.
sort of they've reached their capacity, it feels.
Yeah.
And here there is this sort of new sense of like New York when it first
Newness,
was
yeah.
starting to
Yeah,
build
yeah,
up, that
100%, yeah.
coming here, the American dream, but coming here not with so much with that dream, profit over people. Let's say that,
more
they're moving
opportunity,
towards
I think.
sustainability, a little bit, more consciousness.
Yeah.
They have the happiness center, There's certain things that they're learning from, I call it the old earth,
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
have the new earth. Of course, we're in the new earth.
You just had to do that.
I had to. It's a way in,
I understand.
and but I discern it because I used to be the old earth, and sometimes I define the old earth as my idiot self, and my idiot self, which is the word id for Greek, which basically means the one who basically lives from the amygdala, one who's reactive, lives in their lower
Egoic.
values.
Let's say your egoic state of mind.
Well, you can have. That's the thing, because I'm learning. I keep learning new things, right? I
No.
can't help myself.
Yeah.
We're growing, right?
course,
So
yeah.
when I say one thing, in maybe years' time, I go, well, that thing I said may not actually be
Yeah.
as true as I
Things are
thought it
changing.
was.
Yeah.
So it's very hard that we're in a culture where people kind of want to condemn you for saying something, let's
Yeah.
say, then, when we're always just learning.
Yes.
And everything that we say is like, you know what? We're sharing it, and if it resonates with people, it resonates or not. And so when I learned that, is that there's the ego, but we're never going to get rid of the ego. And if
No.
we think we're going to need to get rid of a part of ourselves, it means that we haven't actually truly loved that part of ourselves. We feel we need
No, I
to
don't-
get
I
rid of
don't-
it.
I don't see the thing is, look, I think the ego gets a really bad rap, by the way. And I'll tell you
Terrible.
one thing, like I studied, one of the things that I've done is I'm a teacher of presence under Eckhart Tolle, right? And like,
Okay.
yeah, so like there is a lot about like, the ego.
Just kept that up your sleeve, didn't you, eh?
Girl.
Girl.
It's exactly how you did the New Earth stuff.
I keep it under my hat.
So I can't write teacher of presence on my...
No.
Like I can't.
I think there's a can there somewhere. It's just a state of mind.
It's the state of the egoic mind. No.
State of the cap. You can have a cap that says this, all right? I believe in you. I know a guy.
Yeah. So, look, again, this is like, I feel like the ego gets a really bad rep. Exactly the way you said. Like, if you want to move on with something, then you have to learn how to love those parts of you. Exactly the way, like, I don't know, people are so identified with their traumas or what happened with them in their childhood, and they want to kind of cut that out, and they don't want to accept that part of themselves. You're not going to move forward until you accept that part of yourself. Sorry, I'm too short for this.
You're not too short. Would you like to sit on the pillow? Would you like a pillow to sit on? I mean, and then it might help.
I just said I'm too short, and then you're like, would you like to sit on a pillow? Like, what? Alex?
You know what? Let's get you this. Would this help behind you? Then help you lean back, and then you'll lean forward. Let me put it behind your back if you like.
I don't think there's space.
Well, maybe not now. Let me just try this.
Oh my God.
There you go.
Let me see.
And then,
oh,
do
Lord.
you feel comfortable enough?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay,
Is it
much better.
Because then you can lean back whilst being
yeah.
forward. I don't want the people to lose your voice.
Okay, cool.
Because you're so chilled and you fall asleep on this podcast. But
are you calling me boring, Alex?
No, you're falling asleep. I mean, I'm staying awake here. You know, I'm just having a matcha. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, Lord, with the matcha, I swear.
so
I scarred him with the matcha.
So going to the ego. Okay, so absolutely. Because how it's defined is there's a true ego. When you're in your higher self. The old self is, I call it the idiot. Yeah. The old earth. The new earth mind, is the higher self. The integrated parts that we had to look through, you know, our splintered personality that we left in time, that we brought back home, and we now love. It's integrated and we feel wholesome. Yeah. So that's how I saw it. And then you were expressing the Eckhart Tolle and how you've gone into this ego, and I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, so the ego, right? It's the I, literally, what I identify with. So if you think of like when we were kids, right? And then you fight with your sister or your brother over like...
I'm going to just do this for you. There you go. There you go. Perfect. I just do not want to lose your voice.
You're so OCD. Okay, so if you think of like us as kids, right? And we're playing with our siblings, and then there's this toy that we don't want to share, and someone takes it away from us and they say, that's mine. And that's just the beginnings of like building something where you're identifying with a form. So the toy doesn't mean anything, right? The toy, the child is going to forget it like the next day. But then they start to build a sense of self by identifying with form. It's exactly the way now we identify with my car, my house, my job. This is what the ego is, right? Technically speaking, everything that the ego identifies with creates this almost like a false personality that you think is important enough to feel special around everyone. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Ego is a form of attachment to materialistic world. And ironically, we're in Dubai, which is probably seen as the most materialistic place in the world.
It's portrayed like
yes,
that.
Exactly.
Yes,
and it is portrayed when you get to but I mean, there's a biggest blinking building on the planet. You know, people perceive it that way when it's kind of showing like, yes, here we are. But when we first got here, there is such, like anything, you know, the duality, laws of duality, there's the other side. And here is such a deep, you know, spiritual community of people because it needs to counterbalance this sort of idea that it's the bling bling. Yeah. There is something here. And I think it's the Emiratis yourself. There is this depth about you guys that, you know, I guess with that depth has created sort of this anchor to grow this world from. Yeah. You know, the depth of what you have as a culture. Yeah. You know, the seeds can go that far down to the ground and so the roots can grow that much further because it has that solidified, it's part of the ground that much more. Is there something, just the essence here? Yeah. It's mystical in that regard.
Thank you. I appreciate you seeing that. I see that too, by the way.
Yeah.
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 In Emirat, I'm not saying this sounded like such a such a thing.
With me,
but I understand what you're saying. Like, by the way, even me as an Emirati sometimes, like, the more I would say stereotypical examples of Emiratis, I'm still amazed with. You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
The way Emiratis carry themselves, and the abaya and the shayla, and like even the tone of voice, even the what is it called? The authenticity when we speak, when we carry ourselves. This for me is very heartwarming. This is what I love about my people, and this unfortunately is not seen in how, like, when we as Emiratis or Dubai or whatever is portrayed in the media, this is not the part that's seen. And it's unfortunate because that's where our essence is, and it gets covered a lot with the way the lifestyle is portrayed and the bling and it's not the essence. It's not.
You know what? But in a way, it's needed. Like Dubai,
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, Dubai is benefiting hugely from people who do actually think it's that way, because they come here with a sense of, well, it's safe. I can bring my wealth here. And I can go around wearing the nice things, and I'm okay to do that. Other countries, maybe not so much. So people who have money come here, which then fosters this sense of growth. There's a sense of security here. Things go up in value.
It's interesting that you're saying that. Sorry, I completely interrupted you. But we're coaches, we interrupt,
Apparently.
It's a tool we use now.
It's breaking the pattern. What was I saying? And then you throw a seed in, and I'm like, and then I think your way. And then how did I get here?
The way I do it. Nice one, Alex.
I see.
No, so what you're saying is absolutely on point. It is a necessary. I'm not gonna say a necessary evil, because it's not. Like I don't really.
Just is.
It just is absolutely. But when you grow up here, it's almost like you want to be seen as more.
Okay.
As more than. I remember 10 years ago, I'll tell you this. 10 years ago, I went to London. The moment I say I'm from Dubai, I swear to God, I've had people do this. Oh, bro, it's not. Oh, I didn't. I come from a middle class family. But I didn't grow up, by the way, with brands, and I didn't grow up having 5 G-Wagons and an oil well in my backyard. So it's like, what I want people to know about Dubai is way more special than that. Dubai is a place where people from everywhere come together in harmony. And I'm not saying tolerating each other, because when you say tolerating, it means, I don't like, but I tolerate. This place is a place where we accept each other and we just flow. We just flow. Like a normal night in Dubai, I'll tell you, I was out the other night in Dubai, and I swear to God, I ended up on a table, random, this was not planned. I ended up on a table with 20 people. Each and every person was from a different part of the world. Egypt, Lebanon, New Zealand, Ukraine, whatever. Everyone was sitting there having an amazing night, just laughing, talking about life, this is Dubai. You know what I mean? This is the essence of Dubai. I completely understand the necessary part, and I completely understand the economy part, and I respect it. And again, we've done what a lot of other countries haven't done, peacefully. But it's like, I want you to know more about us. There is a part of us that I want you to know more about.
What part would you like people to know about?
This.
The harmony.
Yes.
The coming together.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, our kids go to a school that has, I think it's like 74, I think, nationalities.
Yeah.
Something like that in one place. I mean,
love it.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
You know what it is? Because when we have people who foster the idea of, what's wrong and what's right, especially in regards to, instances around the world, from war to all these different situations, to harbor this type of thinking where we move away from the emotions of justifying our hatred, basically cutting off love to another person due to where they're from, because of acts that have been perpetuated. It's very difficult for people to step out of that paradigm and actually step into a place of, if there's nobody who's right or wrong, and all these things happen, who do I have to blame then?
Yeah, that's the egoic mind.
Yeah, and it's separation, right? And
Yes.
I love to love, you know,
Absolutely.
and
I love.
and when I feel like I step away from it, let's say for a moment, like, you know, you have your husband, but there may be moments that something might happen, like with me and my wife, something might happen, and
Yeah. You want to
there's a
smack them
moment
across
of
the head.
well, smack them, right? But there's a sense of like you feel right
Yeah.
because it's about perspective, right? I have my perspective,
Yeah.
my perception, my reality all comes from myself.
Yeah.
The person you love has theirs. And when you have two perceptions that come together and perspective and everything else, when there's a bit of a discord of how we kind of relate to the world, the emotions can start to come up because you feel like there's a separation. And then you feel like, well, whose perspective is right and whose is wrong? And it's not, when you go to that place, it's a place of division, and ultimately it causes one to go inwards and start to assess,
Yeah.
how am I perceiving the world? Is it actually
Yeah.
the
Can
way
I tell you
that
something
is?
about that?
Sure. You're a
So-
coach, so you need to interrupt.
So it's drink your matcha.
This is my cutaway. It's going to be a little jingle now about matcha. Matcha, matcha. Come to New Earth Cafe.
So look, when you do this work, right? When you start the death of ego is when awareness comes in. That's basically it.
Yeah, 100%.
And death of ego is not that your ego is going to disappear, right? It's just, I know this is my ego is playing, so I'm not going to react to it. Okay, so let's say non-reactivity to ego. Now, when you're saying who's right and who's wrong, there's a difference between the truth that's coming from the true self or the non-egoic mind and then the egoic mind. What does that mean? Let's say if you're, having an argument with your wife. If you are expressing that what you're saying is the truth because it is, let's say, my car is red. That's coming from your true self. However, if you continue this argument just for the sake of you coming out as right because you have the feeling that you need to be right all the time, that's coming from the egoic mind.
That's how you lose an eye.
Difference. That's how you sleep on the couch.
That's how you sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
The couch is just not good enough.
Damn, I need to take lessons from your wife.
I use that as an example because, obviously, when people go through marriage or any situation like this, especially when you're sharing a life with someone,
Yeah.
and there's when we talked about before, there's a them and us. I don't know if we mentioned this, right? About the ego. Did you suggest this or am I?
It sounds like something
Something you might have said.
Maybe.
But I remember there's a commonality when there is a us and them. There's the world
Absolutely.
and you.
Yes.
And there's a commonality there that people, especially families, can look at somebody or another family or whatever it is, another country, whatever it is that bands them together because they're the enemy.
Yeah.
And it serves,
Yes.
And so as couples, we can sometimes find that there's the world against, it's the world against us or whatever it is. And we all come from that sort of ethos. That's what kind of bands us together. With you guys in, the Emiratis, is there a sense of that? Do you feel there is a them and us?
Look, I can't speak for all Emiratis. For me, in terms of no, I don't know. I've never really had. That's a really good question, by the way. I've never really asked myself, but I've never. That's very interesting. I think the fact that I've never really fit in is helping me a lot with that because I don't know. I see myself as. It's very cliche, but I see myself as a citizen of the world.
Very cool. High five on that one.
Yeah, I don't know, me and you sitting here, I don't see you as a separate. I don't know. We're all in this collective conscious, and we're vibing, and I'm gonna learn something from you. You're gonna learn something from me. I feel like, look, holding that is just not gonna serve me. Why? For what? Every single person that I've met in my life, whether I've perceived them as being a hurting person, like let's say my exes or whatever. Every single person that's been in my life has served me in a way. has made me grow in a way. So I'm very thankful. I don't care if, whatever role you played in my life, that doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, it served me in my growth. So why would I rob myself of that experience, by, I don't know, your ethnicity or your nationality? What does that even mean? Like, what does it mean?
Well, that's a great question.
Why?
I know, but it means that we're having another reason not to love a part of
Thank
ourselves
you.
that shows up in a different person.
Why?
Kumbaya. So, but I understand it as well, because I was, if you saw me 20 years ago, I mean, who I was then to where I'm now, I was conditioned.
Yeah.
I thought a certain way.
Yeah.
Not so much that I didn't judge people. Like, I just was, I was just like angry, I was just all of that stuff. I didn't know, I had like 3 emotions I knew, my vocabulary was very limited at the time, and I lived like that. And in a way, it served me. In a way, my life was simpler, because there's, you know what to expect. There's a level of certainty.
You know everything, right?
Well, you know everything at that point. And when you get drunk,
it all comes out.
It all comes out that you know nothing. And then, this vicious circle. So going through my life experiences, and now I'm here where I am, thankfully, like we just said it, we're citizens of the world, and we are citizens of the world. There is no separation. We're human. In fact, we have it within our genome, that all the things that we've learnt from one another is in our genome. We're carrying this information.
100%.
The universal law is to conserve energy. It's to store it. And they're suggesting that scientists are putting, Nobel Peace Prize winners are suggesting that it's stored in light, this information, that it's not to disappear, even if the world disappears, that it's all serving to a purpose for this evolution.
100%.
So I was thinking about, you could be somebody in, I don't know, like Australia, in a desert somewhere, by yourself, thinking that your life doesn't matter, let's say, and you're going through an issue, health issue, but you're suffering by yourself, and you think, well, who cares anyway if I'm suffering or not? And I thought about it going, well, what if you're suffering and what you're going through is your lesson in order for you to step up out of it, to think about the collective consciousness, because that information of you stepping out and understanding it is actually going to serve humanity. So when you step out of it, it's just about you, and you go, actually, if me learning through this illness or this health condition is actually going to benefit mankind because it stores in the genome of the collective consciousness, let's say, then maybe my part is important.
Absolutely.
And in fact, most people do things more for others than they do for themselves. So when I say that, it's because it can empower people to go, well, I might be in the middle of nowhere, and I might think that there's no point getting up out of bed, and I might just lie here. But if I do step up, and if I do actually get myself going, and if I do make an example of myself, then that information is stored in the collective consciousness. Not to say, well, I've got that illness, you're done. Or I've got that's happened. The doctor said I can't walk again. But when you learn to walk, when you learn to overcome this, you actually, one, you're shifting the paradigm completely so other people can do the same thing. And if it's not even seen or heard, it can go into the collective consciousness or within the genome. So how we got there, I don't know. But the fact is, it's like empowering people.
In a weird way, you're literally just describing the theory of evolution, if you think about it, okay? There was this, I don't know, at some point, 14 million years ago, there was a flower that grew, okay? And I'm sure that flower was one of a kind, and on its own, it's not like the flowers we see and whatever. But then that flower, within its molecular kind of built, decided to evolve in a way to make more flowers and. Yeah? You're with me, right? Think about this as well. A rock that has no movement, it has nothing. But at some point, when something about its molecular build changes, it turns into a diamond.
Under pressure.
Under pressure, under anything, right? So, thinking of the theory of evolution, when us as human beings decide to change within ourselves, you can change anything. You can evolve in a way that serves humanity. You can turn into that diamond and be of service to that humanity, to humanity in your own way. But you have got to change. By the way, there's a verse in the Quran about this. It literally says that God cannot change anything in a community or in a people until they change what's within themselves. So just think about that.
You are the change you want to see in the world.
Absolutely.
The word actually is perturbation, which is
Lord.
for the pressure. When, could they say when, like...
Listen, I'm hardly even speaking English now, right? It's not my first
This is an
language.
English lesson, by the way, everybody, with a lisp I have sometimes. So that's what it is, what you described there. I learned it from something called Train the Trainer by a guy called Blair Singer when I had my time at Success Resources, who represented Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
And I used to represent Tony Robbins. I used to speak on stage and travel the world and do all my talks and all that fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we learned that perturbation is when something falls in the, say a log falls in the woods, it just rots. But if it drops into a swamp and it sinks to the bottom and all the pressure on top turns it into carbon, and then that charcoal, and then it becomes this whole thing. And we're the same, right? As he just pointed out, that pressure, especially
Suffering.
the external pressure, which is the internal pressure, is putting onto us like this, and we feel this emotions coming up, like, you know, and we can get lost in the emotions because we make it mean something that is not actually true, but that's emotions, and it distorts our reality, and then we can get carried off with the emotions rather than actually staying true. You know what it makes me think of? The Navy SEALs motto when they say, hold fast, stay true. Hold fast is to hold on to the boat, and stay true is in your direction. So when you're going mad, you know, hold fast, stay true. You know, go where you need to go. And it is that. And sometimes we forget that when the emotions start to come up to the surface, and we're looking at like any tool we can find around. How do I deal with this, especially as a coach? You know, of all the stuff you dealt with, which one needs this? Hold on, it's coming up.
Which one should I process now?
Yeah, it's like, I've read this book, I've read this, I've done this course. And these things come up, and you think, okay, what tool am I needing to use in this moment? What is it this emotion is really telling me? Why am I not wanting to confront it? What is it that it's telling me? Yeah. And the reason I say it is because something came up today for me, and I was just like, wow, what is that feeling? That did some trigger happen? I'm not even aware of it. From my childhood, need to come up for air, you know. And you have all these sort of tools that are coming up, and it's just let it release, and then they're just like, and it came out. I was like, okay, I listened to something earlier this morning about Jordan Peterson mentioning it, so I thought I'd give it a go. Let the tears come out to integrate whatever it is that needs to be integrated from your childhood. Whatever, okay, let it come out. Yeah. And there is a sense of relief, you know, of letting the emotion out and going, okay, now what do I make that mean? Yeah. I should not have tears come up. I should not have that. But then isn't that a normal in our function? Biology, in our gene? Exactly. So judging it would then mean that I would have to put it back in the box, you know, and that pressure would then build up again. Yeah. How we got there, I don't know. But
this is exactly that conversation, by the way. How we got there, I don't know.
Exactly.
This is going to be the title of this podcast.
I think so. You know what, Shadé, if you're watching,
no, but by the way, it's making complete and like absolute sense. And I'll tell you why. Like, you know, weirdly, I was just listening to A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle.
It's a cool book. It's a cool book.
A New Earth.
Did
you make the connection? Come on, dude.
Did I make the... No. This is a trademark, by the way.
Did you actually not make the connection? Oh my God, Alex.
No, of course not. Dude. Oh my God.
It's not good for your brand.
Be in the present moment. Power of now. Power of now.
No, so basically, I've been going. I'm gonna be very honest with you and vulnerable.
Have you not
here,
been?
Right? Vulnerable.
Please be. Please be.
Okay. So I've been going through a very rough time the past 2 months. Very, very. I think it's the roughest time I've ever been in. And what is it called? And then I realized that it's like in the past few years I've been working actively on being able to feel again. Because believe it or not, a few years ago, I was known as the ice queen. You know, the typical, I wouldn't allow myself to cry, I'm a strong woman, I don't want to be seen as weak, and this and that. And then I realized that when I've allowed myself to feel, it's almost like life was like, you wanted to feel? Here you go.
And all the universe just throws things at you, like comets from the sky.
What's going on?
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, like, I love her to bits, and we were having this conversation, and I'm like, okay, I understand that I asked to feel, and I know that I'm being given this gift, right? But it's like, does it all have to happen at once? She's like, Amoon, you do realize that because of everything that's happened in your childhood, you were able to numb yourself for a while and then work enough to get yourself to feel again. So that on its own is fantastic. And then I realized, I was like, that's so true, Alex. You know, like I was numb for so long because I was feeling quite a lot as a kid. And I was like, okay, I can't do this. And then I went numb. So for me, like, whether I'm going through a rough time or whatever is being sent to me, for me to be able to feel that is 10,000 times more brave than for me to be able to numb it. Even if I look like a blubbering mess, even if if I'm not at my best, whatever that means all the time, I would rather do this than hold it in and act like a machine and act like I'm not a human being until it all blows up at some point and turns itself into like manifests itself into some physical whatever, right? Like heart attack, stroke, blah, 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 all of this, which is what's happening continuously now, right? So I understand what you're saying.
So yes,
makes absolute sense.
And so you're not wanting to manifest into an illness, which being nutritional, in that industry and being a coach, you're walking the talk. So
I just said that yesterday. Oh my god!
You see, oh my god, so awesome. So do you mind me asking a little bit about, because we're opening up a little, what is it about your childhood that you felt you had to numb yourself?
Look, this is not going to be the typical sob story where I tell you I'm angry at my parents. Okay, it's just not going to be that.
I could imagine your 4-year-old self being actually angry at your parents.
No, I don't.
No, of course
I don't
not.
like that, because I feel like, again, there are extreme examples, but I'm talking about the daily normal parents. I feel like as a parent, I'm telling you, all parents are just doing their best with the resources that they've been given. So this kind of I'm angry at my parents is such an easy card to play just to feed your false identity, which is going back to the egoic mind.
Yeah.
If I was told today, is there something that I want to change, since I've been through so much, whatever, right? I would say, hell no. I would go through each and every moment in exactly the way it was meant to be, because I'm here now. And this is where I'm meant to be in this moment. Childhood. Look, I was the youngest of 6 kids.
Wow, big family.
Yeah. My mom and dad had a turbulent kind of thing going on. So I feel like they were a bit busy with what's going on with them.
So you felt they were distracted?
Yes. Yeah. Again, this is not coming from a place of anger, right?
No, I can see that. And I absolutely, for the record, I 100% see that you're not looking to play a card of being a victim or somehow. But at the same time, it's your inner child. And you can just feel frank that when I hear this, I'm just going to hear it from whatever needs to come out.
Yeah.
So you felt your parents were distracted, which with 6 children and having to deal with life, it's not surprising.
They both grew up poor, and I think at that time in that generation, the main goal of parents was to survive. To put a roof over the kids' heads. It's not really emotional support. It's not really all of this new stuff that's
basic
coming up.
needs.
Yeah. You're fed, you're dressed, you went to school, you have a roof over your head. And you know what? I'm thankful for it. So in that sense, and then it was very like my family is very like, they're a very passionate kind of family, like it's either we're always at an extreme. We're either too happy or too sad or too angry or too intense or it's very intense. So in that, I grew up in that way. And it was a very intense environment to grow up in. And by the way, this was something that I've had to work on a lot, because let's say whatever level of intensity I would say that you grew up with, you bring that in your relationships. And I think I'm way less intense than I used to be, but I used to bring that in my relationships. I was very intense, and I wasn't very aware of it. Does that make sense?
Of course. It's just normal to you.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. It was very normal. Like things that were normal to me were not normal in other houses. They weren't. And I realized that I would bring that in my relationships, in my friendships, in my love relationships, in my whatever. And I would come off as intimidating. I would come off as intense. I would come off as wild. I would come off as too strong, too this, too that. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? What's going on? And I realized that this is something that I need to work on.
Is it just come up recently? Is this why it's the toughest 2 months recently? What has made it so tough?
No, that's a personal thing that I'm going through. It's just a lot. But like what you just said, it's a few years ago, where I really decided to kind of hold the mirror to myself and realize like, okay, my relationship with my family is an interesting one, but then I must be bringing something to the table too. Interestingly enough, like, you know, you're sitting with me and we're having this laugh and we're having like a very light conversation, and this is actually the way I am. But believe it or not, in my house, I'm known as the grumpy one. You know what I mean? I'm known as the ice queen. I'm known as the closed off, this, that. So I was like, why? Like, why is it so easy for me to bring this self or this version of myself to people that I might never see again? You know? But then when I enter my family's house, it's like this completely different version, very closed off, very walls up, very whatever. So as I started to work on myself, I realized like I'm maybe reacting to the wounds rather than reacting to the people. Reacting to the really old wounds that I have. I have my walls up because I'm just expecting to kind of get hurt and stuff. And I realized if I come at this with love and compassion, if I enter my family's house just having love and just having pure compassion for each and every member of my family, and to look at them and to respect their own experiences as well, you know, and to respect their own journey, and this is what I bring for my clients, so why can't I do that for my own family? And it's made a world of difference, Alex. It's made a world of difference. I can enter my family's house, you know, being around my sisters, being around my brothers, being around my parents without having it suck my soul. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I can imagine. Have you heard of family constellation?
Yes.
So, you know, when you step into your home, it of course triggers everything about your childhood, because that's what you know. You step in an environment like this and you're talking, you didn't have that at home. In fact, your parents, when they were out in themselves, probably had this kind of interaction when it was high.
Absolutely.
But there's something about going home that I can resonate, because I can be home and seen as the grumpy one. Actually, the teenage son is the grumpy one, but my teenage grumpy self shows up. And I think that's what it is, that unhealed version of ourselves stuck in time. You enjoy that? And so that's what we sort of, you know, that's what we're battling with ourselves. Because especially when you've got kids who are growing up, my wife's boys were from her other marriage. Yeah. So they're now 11 and 14. So there is a part, each time they grow, another layer of my inner child is awakened due to the interaction with their age.
Isn't that crazy?
It's just great, which is fantastic, because it goes through this healing process. Yeah. But it's interesting, I didn't have them in my life until they were already 7 and 10. Yeah. And funny enough, the first 7 years is when they say that's what conditions a child, right? Yeah. So for their own protection, that was from 7 to 10 years old. No damaging there. So from my own childhood, you know, reflected back onto them. But it's interesting that, you know, these aspects of ourselves that show up. How do you remember to go home and stay in that state? Or do you find that there's certain trigger points that bring you back into...
Look, in the beginning, I'm not going to say I'm perfect at it now.
Why not?
No, so in the beginning, it was a very difficult practice. Yeah. Because again, you know, like, you really have to consciously make that decision to go in and not allow this to get to you. You know, because again, whatever gets to you is about you. And I keep saying this over and over and over again. Whatever triggers you might have is not about the other person. It's about you. This is something that you need to work on, you know? In the beginning, it was difficult. Like, I did have to not see them for a while. and then go. You know, I did have to have those gaps.
What do you mean by that? Like how
Like,
how long?
As in, so usually there's like a weekly family day. I wouldn't go for on a weekly basis, right? I would go like twice a month, maybe every 2 weeks, something like that. And again, it would hurt my family because they'd be like, okay, what's going on? You know, I'll be like, okay, I'm busy, this and that, and I wouldn't really say anything. So in the beginning, it was like that. I needed to have those gaps. And even within family day, I would have to go upstairs and kind of shut the door and calm down, you know, because there are a lot of things that are said, or there are a lot of things that are done in front of me that really like just open really old wounds, you know? And I'm like, okay, how does one deal with this? But then as you consciously walk the talk, you know, it takes work. It becomes a habit, maybe. You know, you go there with a mindset. Like, I'm going to just love everyone. I remember actually one of my really, 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 really close friends, he had an amazing relationship with like his sisters. And that's something that I yearned for, you know. So I loved how he was protective over his sisters and like really close to them and whatever. And at that time, I think I had like a fight with one of my brothers, right? So I was telling him about it and I was just so intense. And I was like, I don't know why this is happening. And he's like, Amoon. And this was a long time ago. This is before I was a coach and, you know, mindfulness, this, and it's a very long time ago. He said something that will stay with me for the rest of my life. He's like, Amoon, you know, if I were you, what I would have done? I was like, what? And I thought he was actually gonna, you know, just give me something juicy like to do, you know? And he's like, Amoon, I would just love him more. And I'm like, this is what you can give me right now. That was the most unsatisfying thing to say. But I get it now. I get it. It's because people, you can say like what? And you as a coach know this, like 95% of people are operating from a place of pain 24/7. When you learn how to approach that with love and compassion, you realize that they are operating from a place of pain. They are in pain 24/7. That hurts.
Well, if 24/7, I mean, that's not even...
Yes.
Even when you go to bed,
Yes.
you're still in pain.
It's like your reaction to that. It's not like, he's an egomaniac, he's going to come and hurt. It's not that. It's he is in pain, you know?
No, I hear you. The idea that everybody is struggling with their own inner critic.
Yeah.
Their own conditions, their own ideas, the world's not fair. You know, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we're sitting here... I've done a lot of work myself and I'm still doing the work. And if I'm in that place after all this work, you know, still evolving, and most people are not, there's certain degrees that... See, I told you it was alive. There's a certain... Like, before I was aware of my thoughts, and before I was aware of consciousness and even awareness, before I was aware of awareness, you know, yes, we're in pain, but we're also sort of unconscious of the pain. Does that make sense? Like, we're just sort of reacting through life. And then there's a sort of sense of simplicity through that. Yeah. You know, you can blame, you know, things don't go well and whatever, you got the bills. Yeah. It's simple. Yeah. But when you start to become aware of yourself, then you're opening Pandora's box.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's when really... the healing begins. And then we're becoming aware that we need to feel the pain that we're suppressing. And that is painful.
Absolutely.
And it keeps opening. You're wondering to yourself, is it a never-ending treasure chest of these beautiful presents that keep coming up to the surface? Though it's necessary that we open that up and find out what the gifts are inside it. And you know, there's a moment of, you know, you're growing, and you realize that you're still the same. You're still the same person who looks in the mirror. You know, you're aware of yourself. Yeah. Man, my beard's a little bit grayer these days, you know. It's the fact that when we're triggered, it's those moments that we lose ourselves. That's the pain of, like, you know, it's like a drunken haze. Yeah. You know, when we're triggered and you sort of like come out of it afterwards. And for me, it was like,
what the hell just happened? Yeah.
When you wake up for the first time, it's like, God, I was like, for 30 years? Was I like, where, how, you know, you wake up suddenly. And some people are like that. Now, when you wake up, we can go back unconscious again. Wake up, going until you wake up and you're unconscious for an hour.
Yeah.
And then it gets shorter and shorter.
Yeah, 100%.
So you come out this hangover like, what just happened?
Yeah.
When you go for those sort of relationships, you know, the ones that really test you, and you think I can do this, and I go back into my next relationship, and suddenly a week later, be like, what just happened?
Yeah.
You know, I just got spun out. I didn't have full control of my faculties.
Yeah.
And it's realizing that, like, who am I getting hijacked by?
Yeah.
You know, what are these feelings? What is going on? Why do I not belong to myself? You start to think, is it an entity, you know, from outside? Is it, well, you know, like what?
Black magic.
Is it, it is. And then some people believe that. And I, in a weird way, I've sensed that. Like there's a pattern that shows up. And I feel like I'm in myself, I can observe it.
Yes.
This pain, this thing that's not really the truth, but it's something that is a disowned part of myself that's sort of floating. Like, just around. It's like focusing on it, go, okay, there it is, like the Ghostbusters, you know, and they put the thing out and it captures the ghost, you know, it holds it in. There it is, pull it in. And it's a part, like, I sometimes feel that when being with my wife and we observe it together, I'm like, okay, here it is. We're locking in. I found the, you know, and my higher self is talking while I'm looking with my wife and going, okay, carry on talking. Like, I need to hear it. So let's have a conversation while I'm observing this aspect of myself that is sort of distorted, you know, that it is pain, that is was abandoned, was judged, shamed, and it's like, wow,
was a victim.
It's like all of that stuff, and it's like, I mean, I don't see it, but I see it in my third eye, let's say. And it's like knowing how to love that and not judge it, you know, especially with the other person there, so we can love it until it can transcend and sort of. And it is those moments, you know, and when you're in from this heightened place, you feel like, you know, you're on the Burj Khalifa. But suddenly, what's scary, what's so daunting, is that the fall is that much harder, that much further.
I would say, just like to everything that you just said, I'll just say one phrase: give yourself grace. And I was literally talking about this morning, I swear. It's like these labels, right? These labels that, no, I'm strong, I'm not going to do this. Or no, I'm awakened now, so, you know, so I can't. Or I'm spiritual. This one kills me, by the way. When someone comes and says, like, you're a coach and a yoga teacher, aren't you not supposed to get angry? It's like,
you just made me angry.
No. Look, I would say if someone kind of wants to measure that for themselves, right? Like, you know, something to take home or a hack. It's like, just notice what here is a norm and what here is a phase, right? So you will have ups and downs. You will have times where you fall off your horse, and you will have times where you feel like you're, as you said, on top of the Burj Khalifa, right? But then, which one lasts longer? Are you in this unconscious phase for 3 months, and then you come into the conscious phase for like 1 week, and you're like, oh, what happened? And you go back? Or is it the opposite? You know?
For me, I can tell you that because I have high expectations for myself, which I'm happy to have, because I wouldn't want low expectations for myself, and I wouldn't want somebody to have low expectations from me. I want the highest, of course. But that does come with a tremendous amount of pressure.
Absolutely.
Which is part of the process of growth. And I've committed my life to that, you know, even if it means setting up a podcast in a cafe with, you know, noises and children and dogs. You know, I like to really put the pressure on myself and go, right, how do we create this? Because I think through these experiences, whatever is triggering, and I'm able to navigate myself through it, then I'm inviting myself for something bigger into my life, you know, bigger test. What is it all towards? My higher self is calling for it. And it's just a matter of getting out the way and not judging the process. So, you know, there are moments that do come up, then I'm triggered and I feel something because I know I have high expectations of myself. And I can be hard. I used to be really hard on myself. And I've learned to be more tender with myself. And it is that tenderness to be like a feather with myself. Which then also means that the outside world, you know, if I put my boundaries down and go, well, people in my space have to, it's a feather touch. You know, unless it's within an interaction like this and we're getting into something, then that's okay, because we can like shake hands and move on,
Yeah.
So it's choosing the moments of how we treat ourselves.
Absolutely.
And for me, I step out of it for a moment if I feel these emotions, and I do go, why am I having this? After as many years as I've been doing this for, that somehow I got these emotions.
Yeah.
There's a therapist. His name is Godot.
Gabor Mate.
Yeah, Godot Mate. And I saw his podcast recently.
He's amazing.
'Cause I'm learning about podcasts and shooting from the Diary of a CEO, right?
Yeah.
And it was a really cool podcast. And in an interesting way, I see him and I see myself in him to a degree, but I also see that he's an older man who's been doing this work for a long time,
Yep.
and yet I like his humanity, that he's still triggered, and he still goes, I'm still figuring out. And I think to myself, if I read his stuff, do I want to be like him? Well, no, I want to be like myself. Like, you look at other mentors and go, well, they seem like they're in in this place, right?
No.
So you think to yourself, well, why would someone read my book I'm putting together? Unless I am at that point, like Eckhart Tolle, right? You want to learn from those who are in a state that you feel like you want to resonate with the most.
No.
But then there's fragments of everybody in everybody. We're everybody.
Yeah.
There's nobody that we are not.
Yeah.
And if we say, we don't want to be like him, whatever it is, have we owned that part of ourselves that we see in that person yet? So I'm just figuring it all out.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a scientist.
Listen, exactly the way you're saying you're figuring it all out, everyone else is also figuring it all out. Now, you wanting to be, I would say, as intellectual as Eckhart Tolle or Gabor Mate, or you think that you need to reach a certain level so that you are able to write a book or all of that, I would say, with my humble opinion, throw all of that in the garbage. Because you're throw all of that, yeah.
But I've already written books.
Yeah, fantastic.
So it's
there
like,
you go.
but you know what I'm saying though?
Yeah,
Like it's not about that I'm not going to write a book because I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not that kind of guy. I take the action. We've got a cafe, you
Yeah,
know, like we
100%,
create
yes.
these things.
Just do it.
So it's already happening. It's just understanding what myself is in a reflection of others who write these books. Why is it I would choose not to read their book?
Yeah.
Or would I choose to read somebody else's? Like, why do we choose to follow somebody?
No.
Why Eckhart Tolle? Why not somebody else? Why these people? Like for you, what is it that drew you to Eckhart Tolle?
Okay. Me personally, look, I'm not easily amused by people. Like, I'm not easily amused by, weirdly enough, in the yoga world and the coaching world, whatever, there's always like someone you're a big fan of, you know? And I've been asked this question so much, like, Amoon, who is your guru? Or, who is your idol? Or I'm going to tell you one thing. I have no person that I can think of that I would call like my main teacher or because I feel like we're all each other's teachers. No matter where you come from, what age, whichever, you can learn more about yourself from a baby than someone who comes out on TV and has I don't know how many million followers. That's where I come from. And then every single human being that you see that calls themselves a guru or whatever, and this is no disrespect to anyone, they are human. As much as you are human, they are as imperfect as you are. You can learn from them. However, it's your experience that's most important. And you have as much to bring to the table as any one of those.
Absolutely. Everybody, I feel like,
Really that simple.
But you know what, there's also, a degree of effort and education.
100%, and you respect that.
Because there's a level of expertise.
Yes.
There's somebody's got experience. So
Yes.
For me, it's like finding out what's special about your quality. Like, what is unique about you in your coaching? Like, what is it that you feel that you bring that is your fingerprint to life and to your value to this world?
I've been asked that question, by the way. I had like a guy come up to me and he was interested in coaching, right? And he worked in HR. So, like in HR, like they have these questions like, why should I hire you? You know what I mean? Like they have all of these like am I interviewing here for a job or like what's going on, you guys? Okay, so I was like, listen, I know for a fact that there is a million other coaches that are way better than I am. 100%. But maybe one thing that I can bring to the table is you will never have a safer space with anyone else than you have with me. And at the end of the day, no matter what background you come from, no matter what educational qualification that you have, no matter what degree, you're human as much as I am, and a safe space is, believe me, once you have it, you will value that the most. Because in that safe space, so much magic can happen. You know?
I agree. It's the presence. It's being present and not judging that person.
Yeah. And as simple as it sounds, it's not easy.
It isn't.
It's not.
I feel, I relate to you on that one. The quality of whatever somebody says to me, it doesn't, if it's the truth, it really, from anything, you know what?
It doesn't spark a judgment.
No, because people just, because when we bury that shame, we feel we can't share it. And I've been down this road. We then attract more situations that we feel ashamed about.
Stories, yes.
Yeah, and until we feel there's a space big enough for us to share what it is we need to share, and it comes in dribs and drabs, as I've done it with my own wife. Like certain things I've carried my whole life, and it's like a little bit here, like certain things that you just think you could never tell a living soul, because when it's our own experience, we are the harshest to ourselves. So, and yet somebody else we can hear and be like, okay, well, unless you're somebody who will judge and blame and shame that person for whatever it is, which is scary to then share in front of them. But when you share it with somebody from just a space of love, that love transcends that shame.
100%.
Because you just need the space to say it. That's why you have priests in a box, and they share it. But when you're saying it to the person you love, when there's everything to risk, that's where you take cojones,
Yeah.
Because when you share that, you've just confronted your deepest fears in every way, which is met with the person you love.
You become limitless, Alex. Like if you're able to come from a place, like if you deal with situations, difficult life situations, from a place of love and compassion, think about it. No one can ever use that against you. No one. But if you deal with these situations from a place of resentment and from a place of revenge and from a place of anger, that can easily be used against you. So think about this, like love and compassion, as cheesy and as like woo-woo as this may sound, they are the most powerful weapons ever. And people underestimate this to a point of no return. Like, think about this, okay? I don't know if you're religious, if you're religious or not, but think about this. If you go back, you think of the prophets, okay, Muhammad. For Christianity, Jesus is God. Think of Buddha, think of
Hare Krishna, and
they were not known for brute strength. They were not known for, their smarts when it came to war. They weren't known for all of these things that are considered strong. They were known for their sense of compassion, their sense of kindness, their humanity. You know what I mean? So if these are the people that millions or billions believe in, right? In religions. Unfortunately, religions are interpreted in such egotistical ways now that we've lost their essence. But let's say. So think about this. If we all work on operating from a place of real love and compassion, do you understand what potential we can reach to? Like,
this is what the new earth is. The ethos of it all is to actually, it's to wear our shame, it's to wear our deepest fears as our shield. It's our secret weapon, actually. It's our superpower. Yeah. Because once that's out of us, and we met in the loving space, we become invincible because it can't be used against us. 100%. And it's that fear when we withhold our shame, which is our treasure, weirdly.
100%.
We feel that we then orchestrate situations in our lives that lead us to have to confront that. Yes. Because the more we're trying to withhold it, the more the universe is going, let me help you.
The more you resist, it will persist.
Exactly. What you resist persists. Yes. So it's there to help us heal, to bring us into equilibrium. Yeah. So these are why I was attracting situations. This is why people, you think to yourself, like, you hear these leaders Clinton doing certain things, you know, like they do these acts and you go, why would they do that? Because they're already carrying some shame, they're harboring. And then they create these situations because they want to be found out, because they want it to come, they need a place to let off. But at the same time, if it comes out in a scandalous way, then they have to hide from it because 100%. The shame is just too overwhelming. But they never get to the root cause of the shame that led to that incident in the first place. But that's why you have these people in the spotlight to show us, okay, that's not what to do.
That's not what I want.
No, I don't want it in that way. So how do I confront it now so that I can heal it and bring it all out? I mean, this is what the book's about. This is my, you know, it's all to the surface, and then I get to analyze it in a way from my higher self, you know, from my idiot self on the paper, and my higher self, you know, looks at the idiot self, oh, okay, that's why. And then there's universal law principles in place that everything is actually, you know, where it's meant to be. It's just a matter of our perception to go, everything was a loving act. I just couldn't see it from the idiot self. Absolutely. So it's having that hindsight, foresight, being able to look at our life in that way and say that, you know what, the universe is actually, the divine hand is wanting us to lead into love. It actually wants us, like a splinter, that shame, whatever it is that's deep within our psyche, to actually come out. So we orchestrate these situations to lead us there. But if we keep ignoring it, then the more we run away, especially people who want power, they seek it to basically build their own castle to hide in. And then they create these situations that ultimately it's going to find them, no matter how big your castle is that you want to hide in.
Look, what's like Brene Brown, there's something that she says, she defines, she's like, what is suffering? And she says that suffering is the absence of love and belonging. You know, so think about the amount of people who don't feel loved, or the amount of people who cannot operate from a place of love, or don't feel like they belong somewhere. So you're going to start like scrambling and doing whatever is necessary in order to feel that, right? So you're going to start looking for power, you're going to start looking for money, you're going to start hurting people just so that you feel like you exist. But what we don't understand is that we don't need all of that in order to exist. We just need to be. Our existence is our existence. Nothing else can validate that for you. You already exist. And then another thing of what you just said, this idea of like our life was tailor-made for us. Like, one of the things that I really, really work a lot on with my clients is this idea of the grass is always greener on the other side. What if, you know, I never left my career and, you know, I never decided to get married? What if, you know, I traveled to India for 9 months to find myself? What if this, you know, my life could have been this? What we don't understand is that there is no grass on the other side. The grass is under our feet. It's right here. Understand that you are now living the life or the version of your life that is best for you, and it's tailor-made for you in order for you to fulfill whatever purpose that you've been sent here to do. Tailor-made, just for you. Exactly the way that diamond goes through that amount of pressure in order to create that shape and that shine and that whatever, this is exactly that. This is the life that you were supposed to live. Even if it doesn't seem as glamorous as someone on Instagram flashing their cars and flashing their money and whatever, it doesn't matter. This is the life that you were supposed to live. You know? So if you come to a place where you really believe that, you're not going to want anything else. Even in your toughest of times, you're like, I know that this is the pressure that's going to make me grow in exactly the way I'm supposed to grow to deal with that next thing that's coming.
Look, 100% that our life is unique to us, like our fingerprint, right? Our life is designed in a way. Our challenges are what we define as abuse, or, you know, the atrocities, let's call it, whatever the story we tell ourselves. Why, you know, why me? Why? And I had that. I remember as like a little kid when I lost my mother, I was like, why, God, why? My little fist pointing at the sky, you know, like, why? And it's hard to believe in a loving God when you feel like you've lost so much. And that's what another definition of what suffering is, as Tony Robbins says, is the illusion of loss, less or never. Loss is like you've lost something that you'll never have it again, or somehow you've got less of something because it's been taken away, or never again. And, you know, the understanding of the conservations of, energy that neither can be destroyed or created. Everything just changes form. But having the wisdom to know that in the moment, that when something you feel is taken away, that something else is given at that same time simultaneously.
100%, yeah.
It's always happening in front of us, but it's having our amygdala, it's having our higher self show up in that moment when we need it the most. Is the time where it actually disappears, right? Because we're under this illusion, like the baby, as you said, that's mine. Whatever form it shows up in. Like I've had a situation with the cameras that one of the cameras didn't record, so the illusion was I've lost something.
Yes, yeah.
And during that podcast, I managed to cool it down and go, okay, we'll make it work because it's adapting. Otherwise, of course, things are not going to go the way we want it to go in each moment. That's called learning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're never going to start anything if we think it's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's through those situations when actually what we perceive as a loss or something like that, we can actually use it to better the situation. It's looking at those moments of our perceived loss and go, how can we make our lives better because of it? Yeah. What did we learn? What is the beauty of the universal law that's showing up?
Where is the light and the darkness?
Yeah, and when it shows up and go, there is no such thing as loss. There is a sense of wholeness, because it means that when even I'm gone, I will splinter off and go into many different parts. Yeah. That people can find me in everything around them, because I'm not lost. Whatever aspect of themselves they loved about me or didn't love about me, that they still need to love about themselves through it, they'll see it. They'll learn their lessons through it. Yeah. So it's that conservation. It's protected. But it's really grasping that in everyday life. Yeah. That we can say intellectually, but to say if something happened in our lives. It's
easier said than done, 100%.
Say something happened in your family or something,
Yeah, the suffering sometimes really, really, sometimes we are so into our pain that we are blinded by it, right? And this is a nice exercise. The yin and yang symbol, right? The black and white, and then there's the white and the black, and then the black and the white, right? So I had this client of mine. She's going through a lot. She's going through a divorce, and it's really consuming her, and I can see where her pain is, and she's telling me, but in the same time, I kind of started this business to distract myself, and it's doing quite well, and this and that, and I was like, let's just stop here. Just stop there for a bit. And I was like, I understand you're going through a lot of pain, and I see it, and I empathize with it. But I want to ask you, if you thought of this symbol of yin and yang, where is life balancing itself out for you? If your marriage, which is one of the big things in life, right? Your significant other or your partnership or your romance, if that's not working out or if that's depleting, where else in life is something conspiring to kind of give you energy to deal with this? She sat there and she's like, my business actually, and it's doing way better than, way better than I think and than I thought it would do, and I'm kind of being a bit active in it and stuff like that. And I was like, there you go. Sometimes it's very hard, way harder than I'm just saying, and I'm saying this to myself as well, because I told you I'm going through a lot. It's very hard to take ourselves out of that pain. But let's say if you do have or find the energy to do that, step out of your pain and watch your life like it's a movie. And notice what else is conspiring for you to keep that balance, because life will always balance itself out.
It is to the art of seeing what is already there.
Yeah.
This is why it's important to have an outside perspective, a coach, a therapist, somebody that helps bring us back into perspective. Because when we're emotional, when we feel like we're losing something, like you're going through a challenging time right now, which I feel like, well, I wish you could share something of it,
sorry.
Sorry about that, everybody.
Because there's other people involved, so it's
not
nice.
Of course. Well, it's not about them, right?
Nice one, Alex. It's not going to go there.
It's about your perception of the events, right? And, so your perception of these events, you're feeling because everything is positive and negative, basically. Minus positive. That's really what it's about. We see things more positively,
Yeah.
and the universe comes along, and then we feel
It
proud,
balances.
and then we has to
Yeah, of
humble us, or
course,
we
yeah.
feel negative, and then we are exalted.
100%. Yeah.
So it's all this sort of balancing out. How do we stay as close to the center we possibly can, especially through the most turbulent times? And you're
what
going.
if you are?
Yeah?
This is the thing that I'm asking. What if you always are in the balance?
But we are.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of our perception.
Perception, exactly.
So
yeah.
you're going through a turbulent time where really this isn't a moment of expansion, where you might be seeing more negatives than there are positives right now, because usually a difficult period is we're perceiving that there's more negative than there is positive.
100%.
So it's like unwrapping and go, okay, I am going through a situation that can be deemed as negative. The collective people would say would be seen as negative.
Yeah.
So if I'm feeling there's a negative going on, a deficiency in some way, where is the positive of that aspect? Where am I not seeing it?
Yeah.
But when we're emotional, it's very challenging to see the other side.
Noise,
We need somebody to help us look at the other side, because
100%.
talking allows us to, unless you're with people who then say to you, you're seeing a negative, and they help you stay in that story. And that's the thing when we think we have friends who keep us telling ourselves
friends,
that
family
story.
Members,
we stay in that place where when I share my story, I want somebody to help me in that moment to say, all right, where is the other side of that?
Yeah.
Because the compassion could be, oh, I have compassion for you.
Yeah.
Let me keep you in that place because I'm really seeing the part of myself that's suffering that I see in you. Well, I'm only wearing this when I'm hearing it from people who, like, other people I hear it from. Okay, so what is compassion, right? Now, if we looked at the word compassion, it's like, seeing that somebody else is suffering.
Yeah.
And because I'm also suffering, I can relate to your suffering.
Yeah.
But if
that's not compassion, by the way.
Well,
That's
they say...
like, it's almost like it becomes more about the person who's listening. Like that person is kind of resonating because they went through that thing.
Well, that's empathy.
Yes.
So...
this empathy and compassion and whatever.
But you see what I'm saying?
Good one, Alex. I'm proud of you with that one.
Thank you. Don't be too proud, otherwise I'll have to shame myself to humble myself. I would like to stay in balance.
It's a really good one. Look, I'll just use an example. So I have this friend. And I'll tell you one thing, Alex. Like, I never really knew. I used to hear the words love and compassion, and I never really knew what they were. I never really knew. And it always used to amaze me. Like, people who could just kind of go there naturally, it always used to amaze me. So I have this friend of mine, and she's not just loving and compassionate, she is the embodiment of love and compassion. The way she thinks is just on another level, and it comes so naturally to her. And for me, I have to work on it, right? And not come from a place of pain and not. So this friend of mine has an abusive husband, verbally abusive, very narcissistic, kind of really intense. And me being her friend, it bothers me seeing such an amazing person go. And this is a very... How can I tell you? I'm trying to be as objective as possible here. This is not like I'm siding with my friend. This is me seeing things that are just not nice. And me seeing my friend going back home not feeling safe in her own house, that's not nice to watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I will naturally want to protect her, and I will naturally find a place of anger towards her husband, right? So she was just telling me, like, I don't know where this person went. The person that I met was completely different. And then suddenly over the years, like the stuff with his family just took over, and like he really went deep into that. And then I sat there and I was like, oh my God. I stopped feeling anger for him because I realized his pain took over. You know what I mean? And I swear to God, Alex, like it still makes me emotional. I started to cry for the guy. I had zero anger for him. I felt
love.
Serious. Like I was like, the guy's pain took over, and this is what it looks like. You either inflict it on yourself or you want to inflict it on others. This is what operating from a place of pain looks like. And then at the same time, I cried even more because I realized that this is compassion. you know?
What did you see in him that you saw in yourself?
I could easily be there. I could have easily let my pain take over and be that person. I told her, by the way, I relate to the guy. Why? Because she, I would say that the experiences with her family that she's been through are a bit different. For me and him, it's almost the same, you know, turbulent kind of childhood. So I saw that I could easily be that. I could have easily been that. And I could relate. She can't relate to him at all because she doesn't understand where his actions are coming from.
The depth of his pain because you've been there.
Yeah.
So then when you recognize yourself in him, that's when you're in because when we judge somebody else's pain, it's basically because we have yet to accept what is in us and we haven't loved that part of ourselves. And so when you touched that place, you went, you recognized yourself in him, and that's what you decided to love. So he showed a part of you that needed loving. So that's sort of a gift.
Weirdly, I'll tell you, now that you're saying it, you said which part of you did you recognize in him? But in that moment, I swear, none of it was about me. Like, I understand that I wouldn't be able to recognize. If that wasn't a part of me, like, you know how if you recognize kindness, it's because it's something within you, right? At that moment, there was nothing about me. There was nothing. It was just like I'm watching this guy be consumed by his pain and allowing it to kind of leak into his family life and leak into his marriage and leak in. So I just felt like
that what you
know, I just wanted to hug him.
But this is you.
Yeah.
Because you said it earlier. Like your family, the pain. You suddenly looked at him and went, the very thing you didn't like and whatever it is was you.
No.
That's ultimately what it is. So he gave you that space to kind of go, the very thing I said I didn't like, and I love my friend, I'm staying objective as I can, actually is me. I'm seeing in this person form and go, wow.
Yeah.
You know, that, and allowed you to love.
Yeah.
You allowed to love yourself through him.
Yeah.
He gave you permission.
I guess so. Yeah.
Because when you see on the other side, you go, that's what it does to people.
Yeah.
That's what I need to love, because what I'm judging in him, I've been judging myself.
Good stuff, Alex.
I knew we'd get there.
It's been 2 hours, you know.
You know, I mean, I got to get quicker. I think you caught me on a day that I'm just a bit like, you know, like let's just go with the flow.
I don't know how we got here, you know.
I know, I played the confusement.
Yeah.
Thank you, higher self, because I couldn't have done it without you. You know, but it's, and I see these things, and ultimately that's what it. I love that we're having this, we're having a laugh, and we can do that, but ultimately, what can people take away from this is that, I'm not sitting here with Jordan Peterson. I'm not sitting here with all these people. I'm sitting here with everyday people.
Yeah.
You and me, we're everyday people that are going for aspirations. You're not at that place you may be thinking you're there yet.
Yeah.
Me too. We're on our journey of becoming. And in a sense, I like that because you're open to hearing new things.
Yeah.
You're not already there going, well, that's it.
Yeah,
I've got
I'm not stuck in my ways yet. Yeah.
Because, and I kind of like that. It's like, and I've been reading a lot of religious texts, especially last year, the Quran and the Bible and all this sort of stuff. And, when Jesus would find people, he would find those who were furthest away from the light. And something about, you're not that person I'm saying, my goodness. But I'm like, hello? Can we get some more lights on in here? There's, I love it when I find it people who are so open, for their seeds to be put in there, because coaches, we have these seeds that we just want people who have their mind as open and just put it in there.
Yeah.
And so when I'm having, these conversations, these illumination conversations, it's those who are willing to hear it. They know they're not there yet, whatever that is. And it means there's fertile ground. So different guests I have on, it's like, who's open to hearing what it is, that is shared, and vice versa, Mm-hmm. And I feel like I've opened myself up on this podcast a little bit more in that regard because of just the timing of it, and you come along, you're a woman coming in here with the nurturing aspect, you're a mother, so it all is just, it's a different kind of podcast, which I appreciate. And I'm going to open up to like a final kind of question I ask First off, actually, what's your experience of coming to the cafe? What did you feel about it?
It's chill.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's a very chill kind of like. I get like a healthy kind of thing going on.
Thank goodness for that.
No, in a
Well, you
good
gotta
way.
try the
know?
food.
Like, it gives me a very Bali vibe. Like this reminds me
Exactly.
of Bali quite a lot, you know. Like and it makes me miss.
Well, you just come
Bali,
here anytime you want a bit Bali
why
vibe,
not?
you know?
Yeah, it's lovely. I really appreciate it.
And
Yeah, good
if
for
your
you.
life was a movie, what kind of movie would it be?
Die Hard. No, I'm joking.
That's an epic movie. Yippee-ki-yay, anyway.
Boop. That's a really, really, really good question. Can it be a cartoon?
Whatever you want it to be.
Really?
Sure.
The first thing that comes to my mind is Moana.
Okay.
Yeah, it's silly, like, but like, I really resonate with that because it's not about like, it really is about kind of her own growth, and she doesn't look like your, you know, typical kind of Disney princess, whatever. You know, she's a bit chunky, she's darker, she has like, you know,
Relatable.
Yeah, very, very relatable, and she has like these ethnic kind of features, and it's not about her falling in love with the guy and the relationship or whatever. It's about her kind of growing into her own best version of herself, and how that serves her people, you know. So I really resonate with that. Really, really, I liked it. Even for kids, like I'm like, okay, finally, like a cartoon that, you know, means something.
It means something.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
a fairy tale that everybody's sort of
It's like,
seeking
a
to
16-year-old
live.
girl running away with the prince on that. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Like, stop it.
Just no more, please.
Yeah, please stop. You
Have you
know?
not seen what happens to
Yeah,
people
so I
who
think,
follow
yeah.
that dream?
Yeah.
So basically embodying the idea that it's attainable.
Yeah.
That is not something that lives in a fairy tale out
Yeah.
there. Though people can, well, we know what happens with fairy tales. People live in a fairy tale land. It's a fantasy, and that
Yeah.
then they get their hearts broken. And then it's in its own way is a beautiful uncovering.
Yeah.
But it's obviously seeing something that's relatable and being grounded a little bit.
Yeah.
So your essence is, if your life is a movie, it's I'm here, grounded, which is
Yeah.
what we talk about, the Emiratis, this sort
Yeah,
of grounding.
very
It's-
much, yeah.
So it's that realism
Yeah.
that I'm here and now,
Yes.
dealing with life,
Yeah.
sharing
with,
it.
with everything that it has to offer, and growing, and watching myself grow, and seeing how that affects everyone around me. That's it.
And offering your gifts. Because I feel like your thing is, look, because I feel like we can relate here. Like I'm able to give the space for people to be themselves because I feel like I've been so hard on myself
Yeah.
that, in all honesty, whatever somebody comes along with, I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Not amused. Yeah.
Like,
Nothing you just said makes me want to judge you.
yeah, it's like, trust me, what I've done to myself.
Exactly.
You have to really, I would
Yeah.
love to find out.
Yes,
What could you
yeah,
say,
yeah,
you know?
exactly, yeah.
Because it's like we've been so
Challenge
tough
accepted.
on round one, fight. So, you know, it's that idea of, you know what, when we've been that hard on ourselves, that is
Yeah.
our gift ultimately.
Yeah.
That we can open the space up for somebody else and just say, feel free to share.
Yeah.
We can call ourselves a coach, you can call ourselves whatever, but when you have that depth of love,
And humanity.
humanity, that we can share that space with somebody else and go, I would never want to treat you that way how I treated myself. Feel free to show up any way you want. That gives them the space to kind of go, phew. But it's hard to believe that somebody can love that much, especially when ourselves, how we've been with ourselves, is that even possible? Though I can be that for somebody else, can I be that for myself?
Are you still there? Are you still in the place where like you're pretty hard on yourself?
No, like I said before, I'm much tender, but when the emotions come out, rather than being hard on myself for having an emotion,
No.
I understand, like I ask myself, okay, say if I'm feeling sad, if I express sadness, then I'm suppressing happiness
Yeah.
because you can't have one without the other. So why would I suppress the happiness? So what is really going on here? Now, I can overload myself with the mind
can
trying to
see,
figure it
yeah,
out,
yeah.
or I can just let the feeling come up.
Yes. Yeah.
Because like I'm learning a Dr. John DeMartini's method at the moment. I don't know if you've heard of him. This dude is off the chain. Like he's a lot of people's mentors, right? Look him up. I'll send you the link.
Yeah.
Right,
please
check
do.
him out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's all about values, and it's about the universal laws of duality and everything. Like whatever it is we resent, we're looking at what is it we're infatuated with. There's always, you're going to find the other side.
Yin and yang, yeah, absolutely.
Completely.
Yeah.
To the point when, like, I understand it from childhood and this and this. And, you know, when you have somebody there who can show you the other side of it, you're like, oh, my God, it's so simple.
Yeah.
We don't have to make it so complicated. But sometimes part of me just wants to rest the mind.
Absolutely.
And allow whatever needs to come up to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Because our higher selves, when we just sort of surrender to our higher self, it can do a lot of the work for us. I'm a kind of lazy guy. I just want, you want
an answer sometimes. Like
just
you want someone to come and give you like, oh, like when you're sad, you need to be doing this. I understand it's really difficult. But like for me, I understand the concept of duality and I understand all of that. But sometimes it's like, as you said, it's really not about figuring out where the emotion is coming from or why. Like we do this as coaches, right? Like you try to understand, you want to receive the emotion with unconditional welcome and this and that, and this is all creations of the mind, and then creations of the mind take away from your heart experience, right? So knowing where your feeling is coming from and analyzing it, or because of my childhood this is happening to me right now, or I'm being triggered because I went through this the other day, knowing is not the same as being or experiencing or feeling, so I would say release yourself of, I'm not disrespecting anyone's method, whatever, I don't know the guy, I'm sure his method's fantastic and stuff,
no, look, I'm just like
release yourself of every knowing, like of every, I know this method, therefore I'm going to use it, or this psychologist's, philosophies, or release yourself of all of that and come to your essence, which is you being human at the end of the day.
So now that you say this, you're saying it because it's you needing to hear it for yourself, right? That's why we say what we say.
No, that's because actually, this is, I keep telling you, like in this tough time, this is one thing that I've been seeing within myself, which is, as you said, I need to surrender. I'm seeing, it's amazing to watch this within yourself, is like non-resistance. I'm not really trying to make this go away faster. I'm feeling all of the feelings. I'm not resisting in any way. And I'm like, I know that there is a point to this and I will be shown it at some point, but now this is necessary. Exactly the way for a snake shedding skin is necessary. It's painful. The new skin hurts, is sensitive in the beginning, but it's necessary. So I'm just kind of like, I'm going through the motions, and then no matter how long that takes, that's it, basically.
I think it's a nice way to conclude this podcast. What do you think?
Shedding skin.
Shedding a new name?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
Shedding
know how
skin.
we got here.
It's been a pleasure to have you on here.
Thank you for having me, Alex.
And I really feel that, this can be informative for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And if you know somebody who might want to come on to this podcast and feel like they're going to share something, who knows who I might be on that day. I might be a lot more challenging. Usually I'm a lot more challenging on podcast, but today feels like we just went with the flow.
We're chilling.
Yeah, we're just chilling today. Yeah. And that's okay. It's okay.
Absolutely.
It's okay.
Chilling like a villain.
It's okay, Absolute pleasure, Amna. Thank you so much. Yeah, and are you hungry? You're going to eat some food now?
I need to pee.
Then that's how we conclude. We vibe when you subscribe.